Hello class, welcome back. Hopefully each and every one of you is doing good. I'm good. So in the last lecture, I gave you a little bit on legislation regarding environmental protection in general, and of course the community surrounding the mining areas. Okay, now let's go to environmental management and get introduced in details now. In detail, as you can see, the management of the interaction and impact of human activities on the natural environment. We have to manage that. Last time I talked about what could happen if we don't manage that. Some people they only care about profit. When they interact with the environment, they only care about profit. So there we have to enact laws to protect the natural environment, the community, and of course the next generation. Okay. So that is environmental management. Purposeful activity with the goal to maintain and improve the state of an environmental resource. Environmental resource affected by human activities. Improve the state of an environmental resource. Water is an environmental resource. Whatever part of the natural environment, that's environmental resource. Okay? So we have to protect and improve if affected by human activities. In doing so, that's when I gave you the steps or the procedure to go about improving the state of an environmental resource. So you have to identify the problem. And how do you identify that? We might get different sources of information. That there's a problem somewhere. An environmental resource has been affected. But since we have the standards of the tolerance rates or the tolerance range, then you have to go and evaluate to what extent the environmental resource has been affected. Okay. Thereafter, we take measures to control. We take measures to control or measures to improve that environmental resource. Okay. Ensuring that ecosystem services and biodiversity are protected and maintained. Okay. In the natural environment, we have to protect the biodiversity. We depend on each other. Whether it's bacteria, tunaua bacteria sana sisi. But microbial activities are important in nature. We have to protect the biodiversity. I give you an example, like you kill all the snakes, the rats will be troublesome. Okay? The ecosystem services won't balance. There will be a problem. Okay? So I gave you those steps: identification of the problem, evaluation, and control. You understand? Hopefully, yes. Okay. Okay, mining changes the environment. We talked about that, how it changes the environment, how it changes the landscapes. Eh? Eh? But let's go to what extent, and on them some factors on which the impacts depends. The environmental impacts and the extent of impacts. We could be mining in a desert. We could be mining in a water body. Oil sometimes, yeah, we go for oil in the oceans. We could be mining in the forest. Could we also mine in Ngorongoro? Could we also mine in Serengeti? If there's a valuable resource, economically valuable resource, could we mine there? So the environmental impacts and the extent of impacts will vary depending on some factors like the location where the projects are being carried out, the natural environment, the sensitive biotopes, and the biodiversity in that particular area or the ecology, the pre-mining land use, some of the things which the extent of impacts depends. These ones I'm mentioning, even the pre-mining land use, and of course the goals of mine closure, the long-term goals of a mine closure by a company. So could you explain, if I say, okay, explain how the location could determine the extent of the impacts? That's why I said we could be mining. Could we mine in Serengeti National Park? Could we mine in Ngorongoro? Could we mine? Okay, you could mine in the desert. You could mine in the forest. We could mine in water bodies, right? So the location actually can tell where much of the impacts, environmental impacts, will occur. You understand? So, for example, we are carrying a mining project in Ngorongoro, and we are carrying out a mining project in Kalahari Desert. Where are we going to fill? Where is the costs? The environmental costs will be incurred more. It will be in Ngorongoro, right? Because there we have a wider biodiversity than in a desert. In a desert, you don't have a lot of birds, a lot of trees, a lot of animals. Understand? We go again, we say the natural environment. Let's leave the natural environment alone. Let's talk about again the location. We are mining closer to the people or near towns. You are mining near town, and you are mining in remote area of where you don't have human activities closer. So the location again, okay? It really matters when it comes to the extent of the impacts, okay? The environmental cost which will be incurred. So when you talk about the natural environment, it also has to some things in common with the location, because the natural environment decides what are the ecology. That the ecology, I mean, the relationship between the living things and non-living things in the area and to that particular area. So once you disturb the balance which is there, it's already a problem. So the natural environment of that particular area where the mining project is carried out will decide, will tell us what extent, how we're going to observe the extent of the impacts to that natural environment. Because somewhere you lose more, we incur more costs in some natural environments compared to the other. Just like I said, if you're mining in a desert, we won't feel much of a loss. But if you mine, where do we have a forest here? If the mine is being carried out in the forest, like where there are a lot of trees in Mafinga, that means we feel. Because in those forests, then we have animals residing there. We have some plants. Some plants are medicine. You mind there, you take our medicines. You know, some of us Africans, we get our medicine. Actually, the whole world, we get medicine from trees, from plants. In different ways. Yes, you can think of how much environmental costs we might incur in different natural environments or locations. Okay, but also the extent of environmental impact might differ due to the sensitive biotopes present in that area. I mean, when you say sensitive biotopes, we mean some of the ecology or some of the living and non-living things in that particular area are very sensitive to particular changes, and they take a long time to recover. Some of those areas actually are protected by international organizations because they are sensitive. You have heard of, let's say, you have heard of areas being conserved for protection, right? Because those are sensitive biotopes. And once they are disturbed, to get them back in order, for example, during land reclamation or land rehabilitation after a project's life has come to an end, it will be almost impossible